Hey, Roger.
Jim, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good.
Is Taylor back yet?
You're good to go, Jim.
Okay. The Auburn Industrial Development Authority will come to order. May I have a roll call vote, please? Roll call.
Mr. Dacey,
Here.
Mr. Andre, Mr. Cuddy,
Here.
Mr. Beer,
Here.
Mr. Gasper,
Here.
Mr. Giantino,
Here.
Mr. Gravis,
Here.
Ms. Overmcleod. Here. Ms. McIntyre. You're all set.
Okay. The minutes of the September 15th meeting of the regular and governance committee meeting minutes. Is there a motion on the floor to Terry? Second, please.
I'll make a second.
Okay, second. Is there any discussion or changes to the minutes? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, abstentions carried. Bills and communications.
So for this month, we have the Q3 invoice for $5,005.91. And we have college disbursement. So for this month, we have for the city, $75,801.84. The county, $48,908.88, and to the school district, $110,743.28.
Any questions? Any questions on the pilot payments?
I was just going to point out, and I would do it in the treasurer's report, that the balance sheet does include all the billings by the end of September for the pilots, just for information purposes.
Okay, well, we'll cover that when we go over the budget, if you don't mind.
Sure.
The only one that needs voting on is the CETA invoice. Is there a motion on the floor to accept the CETA invoice?
So moved.
Second, please.
I'll second.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions carried. The pilot payments, there's a sheet that shows where we are right now. Some of these have paid. We've received a payment from them. I'm sure that next month we'll start to get more. Is there any questions on any of the pilots? Or the length of the pilot, the amount? Okay. Moving on, report of the treasurer.
I assume everyone has a copy that was sent out. I was just point your attention, number one, as a recap to what Jim just talked about on the balance sheet. The accounts receivable, about the fourth or fifth line down, gives you a summary of all the pilots that have been billed as of September 30th, 2021 for the calendar year ended, for the calendar year 2021. And you can see some significant increases for Tessie Plastics, for example. And On a comparative basis, just for information, you see that the Bluefield Manor pilot is at 0 for 2021. Apparently, they are seeking or have obtained nonprofit status, and their pilot is complete with us. Those are the comments I have regarding the balance sheet. As far as the income statement goes, the profit and loss, fairly concise month under the budget and loss, budget performance page. Under the first left-hand column is the activity for September, which shows a disbursement of $3,000 for the website maintenance, and that is basically the activity through the end of September 2021. I guess my only question, I think I raised it, I'm probably being redundant here, is if Taylor could tell me or whether there's, is this the last $3,000 payment we can anticipate?
Yes, that's the last one.
Okay.
Could you clarify that? That's the last payment in 2021, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's for, no, I think that's the last one to our consultants, I believe. That's,
Well, we'll be discussing an addition to that for net 2022.
okay.
That is the last one for 2021.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Is there a motion to put the P&L and balance sheet on the, put it on? Have a motion, please?
A motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Any questions? All those in favor of accepting P&L and balance sheet? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions carried. Thank you. The pilot disbursement report.
So as you see, the report is in the packet on page 5. So you see that this month so far, Carolina Eastern Vale has paid, Community Computer has paid, and Newport has paid. As pointed out earlier, that we should anticipate more payments coming in next month. And then I gave on the side a breakdown of each individual municipality that will take a payment. And at the bottom, each time a disbursement goes out, I will report the breakdown of who paid and where it's from. And total amount.
Anybody have any questions about the disbursement report? I don't believe we have to vote on that. I'm going to switch around unfinished business and go to new business. Terrapin review letter of intent to purchase lot 2 Auburn Technology Park. All of you have received the proposal by Terrapin. I'm assuming everybody's had a chance to review it. Is there a representative from Terrapin here?
Yes.
Okay.
So Jim, we have Nico Pinto, the VP of External Affairs here tonight from Terrapin.
I'm sorry?
We have Nico Pinto, am I saying your last name correct? Nico Pinto, VP of External Affairs from Terrapin is here tonight.
Okay. If you would like to address the board, please.
Thank you. Thank you, board members, for a few minutes to meet with you all this evening. As Danielle said, my name is Nico Pinto. I'm the Vice President of External Affairs for Terrapin Care Station, now rebranded as just Terrapin. We are interested in opening up a cultivation and processing facility here in Auburn, hence the interest in the letter of intent for the parcel inside the technology park. Just to give you a little bit of background on who we are and what we do. I know we provided a pretty comprehensive packet, so I won't go into too much detail and bore you all, but we are about a 13-year-old cannabis company. We hold some of the first licenses in the country coming out of the state of Colorado. We're headquartered in South Boulder. We are one of the few multi-state operators that is still privately held and owned and operated by the original founder, Chris Woods. We currently operate in 4 different states: Colorado, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Missouri. We have plans to open up a facility in Arizona by the end of the year, and we're obviously looking to come into the state of New York and New Jersey as well. Our bread and butter is cultivation and processing, but we do have a chain of retail dispensaries in certain markets based on the regulatory confines. We're very excited to come into the Auburn community. There's a significant members of our leadership team that have roots in this area. Our Vice President of Communications went to Ithaca College and he has family up here. I have family in Utica and outside of Albany. The founder and CEO, Chris Woods, also has roots in the tri-state area region, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. I'm happy to answer any questions that you all have about us or our plans for the town, but like I said, I don't want to bore you with details about us because I think you all have already read. The one thing I do want to leave you all with is that unlike other operators in this space, we really do want to plant local roots wherever we go. We find that we only like to go into communities where we are wanted, and we always like to improve and enrich the communities with which we operate in. We've currently reinvested over $1 million in our different host communities through various nonprofit partnerships that we have. And we have plans here in the city of Auburn to do, obviously not $1 million, but exactly the same, reinvesting in the community. We've got partnerships with Nick's Ride for Friends, with the Heritage Center, also with, just let me look at my notes 1 second, the Auburn Beautification Commission, and we are exploring a few other options with some local nonprofit partners.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Of course.
I think I get it, but I want to make sure I do.
Of course.
So can you tell me a little bit about what cultivation and process, what it is
Sure.
that you're doing?
Sure, sometimes I use industry terms and I forget that
I
this
think
is
I
still
know,
a
but I
new.
want to make sure I understand.
So the easiest way to explain it is the cannabis industry is broken up into 3 sectors: cultivation, processing, and retail. Obviously, retail is exactly what you think it is. It's a dispensary. Cultivation is our form of farming. So it's where we take a clipping of a cannabis plant and we grow it into what you would envision as a cannabis plant with big budding. From that part, after we harvest that plant down, we have 2 options. Option 1 is to package up the product and ship it off to the retail sites, or we can send it to a processing lab where it can be further distilled down into various different edible products or topical products. So typically the way states operate is that there will be 2 different licenses. There will be a license for retail and a license for cultivation and processing. Sometimes a state will differentiate the cultivation and processing license. Sometimes it'll be held under the same. It's still unknown how New York wants to approach that, but our plan is for cultivation and processing.
Great, thank you. I just wanted to make sure I was understanding.
Absolutely.
from your perspective.
If I may ask a few questions, Mr. Pinto. Last year, as a board, AIDA kind of got together and did a self-evaluation of us as a board, what our goals were. We underwent a new marketing campaign. And one of the things that came up was when we are approached by businesses that, are looking for assistance from us or looking to purchase land in Technology Park, what does that company look like and how are they going to invest in the community, not just in their business, but in the community as a whole? And you kind of touched on that a little bit. In your packet, you talk about, or the company talks about, there are 5 pillars of corporate social responsibility. Can you just go over those a little bit for the public that may be watching and
Sure.
what those are and why they're important to Terrapin?
Sure, and I may have to ask for a moment to just pull up, or if I could borrow somebody else's packet, because I unfortunately don't have all of those committed to memory. Thank you. So the 5 pillars that are most important to us are justice reform, criminal justice reform, which I would argue is the #1 most important pillar of the whole industry. It's why we're having conversations around legalization around the country. We also have human needs, political advocacy and education, arts and culture, and veteran services. So to touch a little bit upon each of those. So first and foremost, I'll start from the bottom, the veteran services. We believe that our veterans are essential to a thriving community, and we always try to give back as much as we can. When we first started our company, we expanded into Pennsylvania. It was our first foray at expansion. Pennsylvania created a rule that required us to use a secured process or a secured transporter service. So somebody else, a third-party company, to run transportation and logistics. We saw that as an opportunity. We were approached by a group of veterans who had a veteran-owned and operated company that provided trucking logistics. They were interested in getting involved in the space as well. The gentleman's name is Dave Hardger. The name of the company is VetForce. We decided that there was a lot of synergy between our company and his company, and so we wanted to help him grow his brand across the country. We provided him a little bit of startup capital, but more importantly, what we provided him was a pipeline to get involved in the industry and to grow as we grow. His company, VetForce, has now grown into every state that we operate in, and he has expansion plans to grow around the country. It's, like I said, a veteran-owned and operated company that runs security and logistics for the cannabis industry. The way we look at it is, what is safer way to transport a highly regulated product than by armed servicemen? So that company will likely come into Auburn and the state of New York with us as well. Additionally, we have a goal of hiring veterans into our workforce, and we are just about meeting that goal. We have created a veterans network within Terrapin to ensure that we're providing our service members with all of the resources that they need. And we always strive to hire veterans first. Arts and culture is another area that kind of goes hand in hand with the cannabis industry. I don't know if there's any Grateful Dead fans in the group, but Terrapin Care Station may have, you may pick up on a little subculture there. I would say about 95% of the workforce that works for Terrapin is music enthusiasts. So we find that arts and culture, again, is another pinnacle of a thriving community. And so we always like to give back and provide resources and opportunities to individuals who want to pursue those interests. Political advocacy and education, that's part of the reason why I have a job. We are a very politically active organization. We try to establish a set of regulations for the industry in every market that we operate in that are not overburdensome, where it's impossible for us to be a thriving business, but are also not so lax that we're sacrificing public safety. And we found that that's an important balance to have. Human needs and criminal justice reform kind of go hand in hand, I would think. We take this serious. It's our opinion and mine personally that nobody should be imprisoned for something that is no longer illegal. So we do a lot of work with various different criminal justice reform organizations and jobs pipelines organizations to provide opportunities for individuals who are trying to get back into society, or other individuals that have just maybe lost their way a little bit. We worked extensively with the state of Colorado and the state of Michigan on their expungement bills, and to ensure that members of society who maybe have made a few poor decisions, that doesn't haunt them for the rest of their life.
Very good. I've received a couple questions once news of Terrapin coming to Auburn became public. The first question was, is it going to be an indoor or outdoor facility? And it is going to be an indoor facility. The second concern there is, will there be any type of associated odor to the manufacturing, because Technology Park does butt up against a residential neighborhood?
Sure, I'm glad you asked that question. That's Probably, I would argue, one of the top 5 myths of the industry. Everyone thinks that because the cannabis plant naturally is a very pungent plant, very similar to hops that's used in beer making. You know, when you're in a hop farm, you know you're in a hop farm and there's a very pungent odor. What we have done extensively, both as an industry and as an individual company, is invested, I would argue, industry-wide millions in research and development to ensure that that odor stays contained within the building that it's operated in. Now, if you have an outdoor grow, very different circumstance. There is going to be an odor associated with that. That's one of many reasons why we don't bother with outdoor growing. With indoor growing, we use a charcoal filtration system that will render the smell virtually undetectable from the outside. You won't know what is going on inside our facility until you enter the front door. We've taken pride in that. There is one jurisdiction in particular that we operate in. The gentleman who's in charge of it comes around with a machine, and it's like a smell machine basically. And he has it set to the lowest setting. And if we ever trigger his machine, he writes us a citation. So we've taken that a step further, and instead of implementing a 0 smell tolerance policy at that one facility, we've done it at all of our facilities, because ultimately nobody wants a nuisance factory in their neighborhood. And you know, like I said, we like to go where we're wanted, and we like to ensure that the community members want to keep us around. And so, you know, stinking up a neighborhood with the smell of marijuana is a surefire way to not be wanted anymore. So we take that very seriously.
Thank you. The second question I received was, will Terrapin also plan on operating retail dispensaries in Cuba County?
At this time, we have no plans of operating retail. That is one reason why is because of state restrictions. We anticipate that we will not be able to be what's called vertically integrated, where you cultivate, process, and dispense at the same time. Another reason why we don't have any anticipation of retail is because cultivation and processing is really our bread and butter. We are a premier cultivator of medical and adult use cannabis, and that's really where we like to focus our attention on. And so our current plans are just for cultivation and processing.
Thank you. The last question I've received is, you know, within our city, there are vacant existing structures that have been used for manufacturing in the past, and why wasn't Terrapin interested in pursuing using one of those buildings rather than building a new structure?
While we do like to do beautification through renovation, we have found in the coming years that building a ground up facility really works better for us. These facilities are very unique. It's unlike any other type of indoor manufacturing or processing or even growing facility that you've ever seen. We essentially have to recreate the environment. And then we also have to have a state-of-the-art laboratory where we can distill and process these products in a safe manner. And we have found that it's just easier to build from the ground up because we can build the building exactly to our specifications. We can ensure that we are as efficient as possible, that we are as sustainable as possible, and that the layout really satisfies our needs, as opposed to trying to retrofit an existing warehouse. Maybe we have heating and cooling issues because the building's not insulated properly. Maybe we have HVAC issues because it's an old unit, electrical panel issues because it's an older building. It's more cost effective, and we find that it's actually better for the environment because we can make sure that we're building the most sustainable building possible.
And the last question I have, in the event that additional questions come up, which I'm sure they will, this is a new industry, it's something that, you know, the community, I'm sure, is going to have questions about. What is Terrapin's plan in addressing those concerns?
Thank you for asking that. So always, my contact information is on the front, or I think the first page of the packet that we've provided to you all. I'm always available if anybody would like to contact me directly with questions. If I can't answer them, I'll happily direct them to the right person. Additionally, as we move through the process, we would like to schedule a few community meetings where we'll bring myself and a few other members from the Terrapin team out to answer any questions, whether that be from elected officials, community members, this board, whomever would like. We have an open door policy, and we, like I said, we love to be members of the community, so
Thank you.
absolutely.
Can I ask, I'm Rob Boyer, I'm attorney for the authority. Just have a couple of questions. First, can you just spell your name out for purposes of?
Sure. First name Nico, Nico, last name Pento, Pento.
First question is, you know, marijuana industry not being legal at the federal level, doesn't have access to the banking system as yet. It's a cash business. My question is, are you going to have large amounts of cash on site? If
No.
so, how are you going to? Okay.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize about that. That's another one of the major myths in the industry, is that this is a cash heavy business, and we're just going to have trunk loads and suitcases full of cash coming in and out on a regular basis. The industry has evolved a lot in the past 13 years. And as such, there have been operators who have been operating for a very long time, have a proven track record. Because of that, local community banks have decided that it's a risk that they're willing to bear banking our money. So we do have access to banking. We do take ACH transfers and various different paperless transfers of funds from our different customers, whether that be retail customers or dispensary customers. And we have virtually no cash. I mean, in a cultivation facility, there would never be any cash regardless, because we just wouldn't accept payment there.
Okay. The related question is what you do for security, and I'm sure people adjacent to the facility would like to know.
Sure, absolutely.
That.
So the facility itself will be under 24-hour video surveillance and in-person surveillance by that company I described earlier, VetForce. We'll do 24-hour on-site security. We do beef that up a little bit at night, just because, you know, typically if something's going to happen, it's not going to be in the middle of the workday, it's going to be at night. We also have 24-hour video monitoring that is remote monitored, and there's a direct line to our corporate office and local law enforcement immediately if anything were to happen. The facility itself is impossible to access without an access card. I usually bring mine as an example, but everybody knows what a little access card looks like these days. Every single door is locked, it's bulletproof, it's tamper-proof, it's pry-proof. The only way in and out is with that card or being escorted by an employee of the facility. As well, depending on local requirements, state requirements, City of Auburn requirements, we've put up fences that have like barbed wire fences or privacy fences, really whatever security measures you all would like in addition to what we already plan to do, we're happy to discuss.
Okay. Two more questions that sort of relate to viability of the project. One is, are you familiar with a system like New York's, it's called seed to sale regulations, but really it's called to sale. Where the barcoding system where.
Absolutely, that's a standard industry practice around the country. Little fun fact about the seed to sale system. Metric was the first company that created seed to sale or clone to sale, however you want to call it. Terrapin was actually one of the driving factors behind that. We were tracking our plants before there ever was a requirement to track plants. We started just keeping, assigning a number to the plant and tracking it through the process, just in case our state regulator ever decided to come knocking and say, hey, where's all your stuff? That created a little bit of a buzz in the industry and with the regulators in Colorado. Then we created what's known as the seed to sale tracking system in tandem with the state of Colorado, and now that's become the industry standard around the country.
So you don't foresee any problem complying with that. And the other question really relates to the social justice measures within the New York law. There are strong social justice measures, and the hope is to get socially disadvantaged and historically disadvantaged populations involved in the various levels of production here. And do you see that as a problem for you all getting a license?
Yes, in terms of us being able to acquire a license, I do not. We are a minority-owned company. The founder and CEO, Chris Woods, is of Mexican descent. So I think that we will not foresee an issue. As far as the the program as a whole, that's something that we've been fighting for, social justice and social equity around the country. We work hand in hand in the state of Colorado and a couple other states to promote these types of programs. So no, I don't anticipate that to be an issue at all.
I would just like to talk about this with you a little bit because this is a relatively new business. And I would describe our community as pretty conservative. So I'm curious as to when you've approached communities about bringing your company there, what kind of objections have you been met with? And I see them related to, but kind of different than what Jerry was talking about. And how did you overcome those objections?
Sure. You're absolutely right. This is a brand new industry. It's 13 years old, but in reality, it's in its infancy. I was actually just having a discussion with Jimmy earlier today about post-prohibition in the alcohol era and how long it took for the alcohol industry to reintegrate itself back into society and become normalized in society. And so you're absolutely right. I've never walked into a community. A predominant part of my job is working with local governments to grow the company's business. And I've never walked into a community where it's just been like, okay, great, welcome, we're good. That's all, we've got nothing here. Usually what I find is a lot of the initial objection is a lack of education and a lack of understanding. You know, the reefer madness moving from, I don't remember when it came out, really.
Before you were born.
Oh, long before, probably before everybody in this room. That really did a lot of damage for our industry, and I still am met with, you know, I call them reefer madness style objections and talking points. And I found that the best way to overcome that is to listen, to empathize, but then to just do a little bit of re-education and explain, you know, first and foremost, these facilities probably have as much security as the prison right down the street. So it's not like, you know, just random Joe from off the street is going to be walking in and then walking out with a bag of marijuana. Secondly, one of the biggest concerns I hear is youth access to cannabis. And we actually have studies that show in legal states that have legalized for both medical and adult use, youth access has actually stayed constant, and in some circumstances, it's declined a little bit. And so, you know, it's a lot of re-education, a lot of talking, and just an open door policy. Like I said, we have nothing to hide, and the more questions, the better, because it just provides for a more informed discussion. Anything else?
Anybody else have any questions? Well, thank you very much. That was a very good presentation. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Moving on. The report of the Finance Committee. Jeff?
Jim, we have to vote on the,
Do we have to vote on the letter of intent for the option to purchase?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Better put my glasses on, hadn't I? Okay. The letter of intent to purchase Lot 2 of the Auburn Technology Park. Has everybody had a chance to review that? May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
Second, please.
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion.
Just before we go with a vote, I just want to know it's a letter of intent only, it is not itself an option. We would have a formal resolution at the point that we execute an option.
Yes, just the letter of intent.
Right, just so Karen here and members of the public don't think something's being done without them being fully informed.
Okay.
So we're clarifying that what we're doing is basically voting to approve receipt that we've received this. I just want to make sure that everybody knows what we're doing.
We're entering into discussions for a formal option agreement,
And that's what I thought, but I think I want to make sure.
but we're not voting on option agreement itself.
Okay, is there any further discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Mr. Vacy,
Aye.
Mr. Andre, Mr. Cuddy,
Yes.
Mr. Beer,
Aye.
Mr. Gasper,
Yes.
Mr. Dinapino,
Aye.
Mr. Gravis,
Aye.
Ms. Lord McLeod,
Aye.
Ms. McIntyre.
Any, okay, now moving on. Report of the Finance Committee, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you, Nico.
Looking forward to it. I'll see you soon.
Take care.
Yeah, so I apologize, everybody. I'm in the car today and was recently nominated as a representative, so I'll keep it brief. We did review the 2022 budget. Nothing really material to speak of other than the normal revenues that we anticipate coming into next year. The only variant that we discussed was potentially the $10,000 kind of hold on the lot for Terrapin. If that is proceeded with in 22, that would be an additional $10,000 on the revenue line. So other than that, I think that's pretty much in summary what we discussed. Any other additions from my fellow committee members while I'm driving here can certainly be added in, as I was unable to take notes, but that's the summary.
I think it should be noted that it was a unanimous vote that Jeff be made chairman of the Finance Committee.
Yes, I'll throw that in. So we may have to do a slight adjustment based on that $10,000 LOI, on the hold on that revenue, and potentially if something goes forward more with Terrapin in 22, that might have to be adjusted. But that's the only material adjustments that we saw.
Well, I think, Roger, that we could add that to the budget. If down the road it doesn't work out, we can always take it out. But if we're going to approve the budget, I think we need to have that in there.
I'm gonna agree. I would agree with that, Jim. So.
Yeah. Now that we know we're moving forward from on that, I think it's a good idea. Yep.
Is there a motion on the floor to accept the 2022 budget as amended?
I'll move.
Second, please. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions carried. Thank you. The AIDA 2022 Place Brand Marketing Proposal. Devin, would you care to address that?
Absolutely. I think you all received the what TGW gave us for a proposal. There's 4 options listed on there. One is in red. That is the most current option. It will be in gray, dark gray, on your black and white pages. We were originally received 3 options from TGW for contracting out. This is not handing over all of the marketing to TGW. This is a collaborative effort. So the CETA marketing team would assist, would communicate, keep same as we did before. So this is opening up a new contract for ongoing brand development, support, broadcast of the brand. We have a brand new place-based brand for the city of Auburn. And I can't think of anybody better to continue the strategy moving forward than TGW, since they developed the brand. But I did go back to them because I wanted to see an option that included digital marketing for AIDA's, the Take Root in Auburn brand. And that's what that option 3, sorry, option, whatever it option is, two.
Option 2 highlighted in red.
So it's essentially, it's just a less expensive option that includes almost all of option 1 and some digital marketing as well, because I feel that when you have a brand new entity, anything, brand, you definitely want to put some dollars into search engine marketing, social media platform, marketing. You want to, really get the word out there. And without any digital media marketing, I don't think you're gonna get very far these days. So they did propose the option 2 at a slightly lower price range, but still including what I feel is a robust package, collaborative package for AIDA.
Well,
Go ahead, Jim.
Devin's not going to tell you this, but with that addition, it would be to our advantage, because Devon would be spread entirely too thin with what's going on, and that's work that needs to be part of our overall branding, and we definitely do not want to put too much on her shoulders that where we could do this and she can still oversee it, and it's a win-win situation.
Devin, are you talking about the $74,000 bottom line or the?
57,000,
Okay.
option 2. Yeah. So that includes a lot of ongoing tactics that they'd already put in place with the original brand development, your podcasts, actually adds a few things. They proposed creating a 30-second video promo for AIDA that could be used in the digital marketing, either on Google, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. They also have some print pieces in here as well, which I've spoken with them pretty, we've back and forth communicated quite a bit. So, they've got some photography shoots in there, the podcast production I already mentioned, ongoing support for the website, which is very important, keeping that up to date, and, communicating with me and potentially Giovanni, our communications coordinator, who, we share amongst the organizations, to support the brand.
So Devin, based on my initial reading of this, it's pretty much in line with everything we did last year, except they made the brand. So the big work was done with making the brand. All this is doing is basically maintenance and maintenance in collaboration with AIDA.
Yeah, it's campaign management as well. So they have not done any digital campaigns except, sort of organic posting on social media. We have 3 platforms that we engage with right now, AIDA engages with on social media, but all of that has been organic posting, and they would continue to do that as well. The rate that they're quoting us here, I believe, is 2 times weekly, which is not a robust strategy. That's why I suggested working collaboratively with the team here at 2 State Street, so that, perhaps Giovanni and myself could also, contribute to regularly posting on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, just to keep, those channels open and active. I think that's important. And the way we broke it down was that TGW would sort of handle the brand strategy side of the social posts, the ongoing strategic posting to create brand awareness, not only to our local audiences, but to much broader targeted, those targets that they that they built up in the brand development. And then Giovanni and I would do the sort of social real time, ear to the ground, local shares. City of Auburn might put a post out there and AIDA could share it. That's stuff that TGW is probably not very privy to. They're not tracking it regularly like we are here. So it would be a collaborative effort to do that work. And it does, like Jim said, it does take quite a bit, especially that the digital marketing piece, development and ongoing management and metrics and reporting, analytics. That's a lot. I do that for CETA now and Chamber. But I want to make sure, TGW, like I said, has just a, strong knowledge. They developed the brand. They'll know, what channels to put AIDA through. I mean, I certainly could do it myself, but I don't think it would be as robust as, I think they have a team of maybe 3 or 4 that they work with. So this would definitely continue to get, the word out there to these audiences about this, wonderful, beautiful new brand that you've, invested in. So let's get the word out there in a robust and, very strong way. So.
I agree with that. This was an investment. We saw an opportunity. The world was changing last year. We had the resources to do it. We rebranded AIDA. And I think that's all for naught if we don't promote it. And that's the world we're living in. You look at a company like Terrapin, it's very young. The ownership of Terrapin is very young. They saw something here. They've told us that. They saw something here, and we need to continue to tell that story. And I'm fully in favor of this.
And
Jim, is it fair to say that Terrapin was the website their source of knowledge about Auburn? Was that one of the reasons? Was that a part of the impetus for them to be locating here?
No, Roger, I'm sorry if I portrayed that's what I was saying. What I'm saying is they're a young company, and it's that type of company that we want to attract here. And most companies that young of a demographic, they're going to use digital media to look for places to relocate and to attract workers. And I just think that it's a good example of the type of company that we could attract.
So it's fair to say, I guess I'm looking for sort of a return on what we've done so far, if that's even possible, is the fact. So Terrapin didn't find us because of the website. Is that a fair statement?
Terrapin found me through LoopNet.
I'm sorry?
Terrapin found me through LoopNet. This is Danielle.
Yes, hi. They found you through LoopNet?
LoopNet, it's a website that site selectors can use to look at commercial properties and areas. CETA has had marketing and advertisement on there before. So that's how they came across CETA, was through LoopNet.
Okay.
So Roger, I know most of the board may not know, LoopNet calls me once a month. Our land is actually on their site, all the land that AIDA owns, and I update it monthly, so they are aware of the land.
My follow-up, I guess, is one of the things that I guess I attached to it personally. It was the reason, one of the big reasons for the website and the branding and so forth was to get visibility to site selectors throughout the country, right? I think that was part of it, a significant part. And I'm just, is it too early to say, is it working so far, or do we have any?
I think we all have insights for Roger here, but who wants to go first?
so Roger, if I may, Danielle, you will probably, I think the marketing, what we did last year with the website was more of, and I even said this, and Gwen and I kind of intimated this, it was really kind of an exercise for ourselves as AIDA to really kind of come, like, to identify who we are and how Auburn should market itself to site selectors, to potential people who want to move here with their families for the various reasons that we see the potential in Auburn. And you know, I think that, you know, whether the website indirectly or the fact that, you know, maybe LoopNet, which we've been involved in with several years, was the one thing that got them hooked. But we were ready as an organization with our website, with our branding, so that places like Terrapin would be could be attracted to us. So I think our exercise in identifying who our target audience was, trying to attract a younger, you know, more agile businesses. The idea of you know, the Colombian ropes, the Alcos, those days are gone, and we were aware of that when AIDA wanted to rebrand ourselves. And I think, you know, this interest of Terrapin in coming to Auburn is, to me, a signal of the potential that we were trying to get. And
I understand the you know, the definition and concept of potential. I'm just saying, you know, have we had any hits yet? Is it too early to expect that we have had?
Danielle can answer that.
So Roger, I just want to jump in here. I don't think it's premature. I think it's actually running parallel to our attraction strategy. We just finalized our supply chain analysis, which was really a 6-month process to really kind of hone in on identifying industries that would really align to Cuyahoga County's business attraction needs. And what we have really come across are 6 targeted industries that really align heavily around manufacturing, agriculture, and tourism. So being able to do this parallel with AIDA, with their place brand, is just going to align with our overall attraction strategy, and as we keep developing it in 2022.
I think it's important to remember that the marketplace is very fickle. And it's important that we keep our brand out there, our who we are out there, so that people can find us and move forward. If we don't do that and spend the money to do that, then all we've done is we've got a brand, but we're not doing anything with it. Now it's the time where we have to put something with it and start working on bringing these companies into us, because we have a solid brand now.
And Roger, I think you asked a good question. How do we quantify that it's being successful? And I think, and Devin, if you want to highlight on this, part of this investment with TGW, they will be able to come back and tell us how much engagement there is, where that engagement's coming from through analytics. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's part of the package, is social media analytics and insights, not only on social media, but the website as well. And we can ask TGW for specific metrics, you know, and access. Actually, right now I have access to all of those metrics, and can track that, same as I do for CETA, you know, and Chamber as well. But they'll, you know, produce quarterly or monthly. I think the package calls for monthly analytics. So they will be producing those reports for the board on a regular basis.
Very good. Well, thank you for explaining and expanding on that. So I think it sounds like my questions might have been somewhat premature, and I think the idea of continuing to track it and see how we're doing is a logical part of the follow-up. So thank you.
If I could offer something for our collective consideration, I think that there's lots of moving parts to what we're doing here. And I've mentioned this before, and I'd like to put it out there because we are searching for a new leader, that we can manage all of the analytics related to the activity and the engagement with the website. Something that I'm thinking about is also ensuring that we have the internal capacity to follow up on whatever happens. And we were talking before Tracy left, and I think Danielle might have mentioned this, that this staff is stretched pretty thin. And so one of the things that I would observe about where we are right now is that we have all of, if I can just call the products we need to put ourselves out there. It seems like this pending contract is focused on moving us from developing the product to deploying the product. Is that how you want me to understand it?
That's correct.
And then once that happens and these hits start coming in, because they will, well, periodically and over time, somebody has to be ready to follow up on that. And I think just as a board, we want to pay attention to that. And I'd also say it's critical for you as the team to really start being conscious and strategic about where your capacity is and what you have the capacity to really do. Because it won't matter if we get some really hot prospects if no one in this building has the capacity to follow up on it. So there's lots of moving parts in this. I would just say, based on my experience in marketing and branding, that where we are right now is the right place to be. But I also think because of where we are, we need to be examining our internal capacity to be responsive in the right way when things start to click in. And so I don't know if we're gonna have any updates about the search, and it may not be my business, but I do want to put in somebody's ear for consideration that I think we have to hire a leader that gets that, understands that, and that you all have to just continually tell us, because you are, in my opinion, and we could do it, but should you do it, right? And the whether or not we get to where Roger's talking about is directly connected to, do we have the internal capacity then to deploy the right person in the right way to the next company that wants to come here and talk to us? And I get the sense that you all are managing a lot of details, and I see that as a lot of strategic activity. So I just want to be on the record about that.
Yeah, that is the ultimate conversion.
Right.
Are those phone
I
calls?
think we have capacity
and-
issues
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah, and we need somebody here that's ready to answer that. And this is not only a tool for AIDA's in the city of Auburn's attraction purposes. It's our local employers for their, their own purposes and bringing in new employees. They can, use this website to, refer people to.
And if I could say, when I say we have capacity issues, it's not about whether or not you all are talented and skilled. It's about, are there enough humans in the building to take care of the day-to-day operations and simultaneously deal with the strategic kind of work that it takes to entice someone to come here? That's just my high level concern.
Is there any further discussion? Is there a motion on the floor to accept option 2? I believe that's what we've been discussing, and there seems to be a consensus that would be the option to go for. Does anybody, once we put it on the table, we can clarify it, Terry? Put the motion on the floor. Is there a second, please? Brandon, thank you. Discussion.
I guess my only comment, I agree with the process, and I think in the comments, and I think it's fortunate that we're in a position to make these additional investments. We've talked about the favorable financial position we find ourselves in because of the work done by Tracy and her staff, so that we can make those investments. And I'm looking, interesting enough at the budget and forecast for 2022, and we're adding in there a number for marketing of 57,000. That's an additional investment that we're making in Auburn and in what we do and so forth. And we all want to have to understand that, if I'm not mistaken, this is above and beyond where we were 8 months ago when we were evaluating TGW and what they were going to do for us. Now our needs have expanded and it's going to cost us. Luckily, we're in a position to be able to make those investments. So we should be prepared that there's going to be some additional follow-on investments that perhaps a year ago we had not expected.
I think it's important to note that this is also a very good tool when we go to talk to the county, along with the CCIDA, about CEDA's funding for next year, that this is part of our investment in the overall package. Because this won't just affect AIDA, this is going to affect CCIDA and CEDA. So it's a plus for them also.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Pardon me?
I said I agree. Thank you, Jim.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? Abstentions carried. Thank you. The CEDA staff update, is there any staff update?
Just really quick, Devin's been working very diligently on the improvements that she's made to the visitor experience to the CEDA website. Thank you, Devin. Some of those improvements include that we have an events page now. She's added more features to the Cuba County asset map. Some of those things are direct links to the municipality and school district websites, which is really great. The website is now more, it can support interactive data and it has a password protected area where we can hold content. I will be using this specifically around site selection and working with attraction proposals. Also, Meg will be using this as a resource library for the individuals that are going through the micro enterprise program. So that's really exciting. Meg is continuing to improve the micro enterprise program. She's identified that there needs to be workforce development and support services embedded into the program. A lot of the entrepreneurs that are coming through the program are struggling with personal barriers and really could benefit from learning more professional skills to help them succeed in growing their business. Chamber virtual auction ran from September 17th through October 1st. It raised just shy of $8,000, $7,990 to be exact. Typically, this event will raise around $2,500 to $3,500, but this year with the annual dinner being canceled, sponsors had donated $4,000 to the event on top of the additional $3,800 that it raised. That's all I have.
I'd like to take this opportunity at this point when we're talking about CEDA staff to thank all of you on staff that for stepping up and doing a great job until this is not an easy time for you. I know that, and it's much appreciated. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jim, for those kind words.
I echo Jim,
Thank
as
you.
always.
Small business support.
That just stays on the agenda in case we have an empty meeting, if we need to have a small business conversation.
Okay. Is there any board member updates? There's ABO training October 27th, 9:30 to 11. How many people do we need to go through that, Tracy or Taylor?
Everyone has already gone through it.
Okay, good enough. And so our next meeting will be November 17th at 5 PM.
Jim, it's Gwen. Can we get a high level update on the status of the search process?
Sure. I, we have met, there's still gathering. I haven't seen a date yet for our next meeting. But we're all anxiously awaiting some candidates so we can move forward and put that to bed. So that's where I haven't got much to tell you right now.
Do you have candidates? Have you received resumes?
They have received some.
And just a final question for me, because I just want to understand. And did you use an existing position description to solicit candidates, or did the search committee have some conversations about the attributes and characteristics they thought that the next leader should have for the organization?
We reviewed the job description, and everybody gave their input. Basically, there wasn't a lot of change that needed to be done. It's a pretty comprehensive job description. But that was updated, yes, Gwen.
Thank you.
Was that your question?
Was that my question? Well, yes, I have a point of view about this particular type of search, so I was just curious about how the committee went about deciding what we really needed in our next leader. So that's all. And if it sounds like you reviewed the job description and felt that it was an appropriate platform to attract the next leader,
Yeah.
and did some tweaks and moved forward with it.
I
I don't have a judgment about it either. I'm just trying to figure out what happened.
I would say that was basically what was acceptable, what was accepted was that would be the platform.
Okay.
Can I just jump in here, Jim, really quick? It's Danielle. So I've been having conversations with Grant Kyle and Kevin Miles as well, on the CSS and CETA side of things. Grant Kyle had reached out to all of the search committee members to review the original job description and then ask for feedback from all the search committee as well. Myself and Amy Fuller had reached out to the search committee and said that it was really critical to get feedback from the direct staff. So the whole CETA and chamber staff had created a full job description in collaboration on top of identifying or highlighting qualifications and skills that we really need to see in our next leader or in the leadership. And we had submitted that along with the search committee. From what we heard, all the information was, I think, given to Melody Johnson to then compile the finalized job description. So at this point, I don't know if anything has been posted, but that was the update that I had received by this week.
Was I correct in saying that we have received some applications, but
I had not heard
nothing's
of any that.
pardon me?
I had not heard that any resumes or applications have been submitted at this time.
I thought I heard that some had come in. We haven't done anything with them, that's for sure. Okay.
Also, by the end of the year, I do need your sexual harassment training certifications. I just wanted to make sure that everyone is aware that I'm still waiting for some.
I'm sorry.
Your sexual harassment training certification for the year. I'm just waiting on some of the certifications from some of the board members still, that we have them on file, that you guys went through sexual harassment training this year.
I think I just signed up today for one.
Okay.
Could you send a reminder out on that?
Yes, I can.
Anybody have anything more they'd like to bring up? Is there a motion on the floor to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
I.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?